More than 2,000 years ago, one man ruled one of the most powerful empires in history while facing betrayal, deception, political enemies, and constant pressure. Yet he discovered a mental strategy so powerful that even today it can make you emotionally untouchable when others play dirty. That man was Marcus Aurelius, and his way of thinking can completely change how you deal with manipulation, disrespect, and psychological games. Because here's the truth. Most people never fully understand. People will play dirty, people will lie, people will test your limits, people will try to control how you feel, and you cannot stop that from happening. But you can decide whether it controls you. Most people believe strength means reacting fast, defending themselves loudly, or attacking back harder. But real strength is something much quieter and much more difficult. Real strength is emotional control. When someone insults you and you instantly react, they control you. When someone provokes anger and you explode, they control you. When someone manipulates your insecurity and you panic, they control you. Dirty tactics work by controlling your emotional state. And the moment your emotions are controlled, your behavior becomes predictable. Predictable people are easy to manipulate, and if someone knows exactly what makes you angry, they can make you react whenever they want. If they know what makes you insecure, they can guide your decisions without you realizing it. If they know what makes you desperate for approval, they can control your choices. Most people are not controlled physically, they are controlled emotionally. This is why insults are powerful. This is why gossip spreads. This is why disrespect hurts. This is why manipulation works. Because human beings are deeply attached to ego, image, and emotional validation. This is where the thinking of Marcus Aurelius becomes completely different from ordinary thinking. He believed the moment you lose control of your inner state, you lose your freedom, not physical freedom, not political freedom, but inner freedom. The freedom to think clearly, the freedom to choose your response, the freedom to remain calm when others cannot. Most people live in emotional chains they cannot see. Every rude comment pulls them, every criticism shakes them, every act of disrespect disturbs them. Their mood changes based on other people's behavior. That is not power, that is dependency. Marcus trained himself to live differently. Instead of reacting automatically, he observed first. And observation without reaction is one of the most powerful mental skills you can develop. Imagine someone throws mud at you. Most people immediately throw mud back. Now both people are dirty, both are emotional, both are trapped in conflict. But imagine simply stepping aside. The mud falls, you remain clean, and the person throwing it looks foolish. That is emotional non-participation, and it is extremely difficult because your ego wants to defend itself immediately. When someone attacks your reputation, you want to explain. When someone challenges your value, you want to prove yourself. When someone disrespects you, you want to fight back. But Marcus would ask one simple question. Is this reaction improving your character or just protecting your pride? That question cuts through emotional confusion because many reactions feel strong but are actually weak. They come from wounded ego, not from wisdom. People who play dirty depend on ego reactions. They depend on your need to be right, respected, admired, or feared. Remove that need and their tools stop working. Think about a person who genuinely does not care about meaningless opinions. Not because they are numb, but because they know their worth internally. How do you insult someone like that? You cannot. Think about a person who refuses to lie, manipulate, or attack back no matter what others do. How do you drag them into drama? You cannot. Think about a person who stays calm when others are emotional. How do you control them? You cannot. This is inner independence. And inner independence is the foundation of real power. But there is another deep shift Marcus practiced, something most people never learn. He stopped being surprised by bad behavior. Most emotional pain comes from expectation. We expect fairness, we expect honesty, we expect maturity. And when people fail those expectations, we feel shocked, hurt, and offended. But what if you expected human weakness in advance? Marcus would remind himself every morning that he would meet selfish, rude, jealous, dishonest, and arrogant people. Not because he was pessimistic, but because he was realistic. If you expect rain, you carry protection. If you expect heat, you prepare water. If you expect difficult people, you prepare patience. Expectation removes emotional shock. And when shock disappears, reaction becomes a choice instead of a reflex. Imagine entering a conversation already aware that someone may try to provoke you. When it happens, you are not surprised. You are ready. The emotional impact becomes smaller, sometimes almost nothing. Instead of thinking, "Why are they like this?" you think, "This is human behavior." Stay steady. That mental distance protects your peace. Marcus also believed something even more powerful. People behave badly because they misunderstand what is truly good. They chase status, control, pleasure, or attention because they think these things bring happiness. When fear or insecurity drives them, they manipulate or harm others without deep awareness. Understanding this does not mean accepting bad behavior, it means not taking it personally. When a child throws a tantrum, you do not feel deeply insulted. You recognize emotional immaturity. You remain calm. You respond wisely. Marcus saw many adults the same way, emotionally untrained, reacting blindly to fear and desire. Clarity removes personal offense, and when nothing feels personal, dirty tactics lose their emotional power. Now let us talk about control. The idea most people misunderstand. Many people think control means controlling others, winning arguments, dominating situations, forcing respect. Marcus believed the only true control is control over your own thoughts, judgments, and reactions. Everything else is temporary. You cannot control what others say. You cannot control what others think. You cannot control what others do. But you can control the meaning you assign to their actions, and meaning creates emotion. Someone ignores you and you interpret disrespect. Someone criticizes you and you interpret attack. Someone succeeds and you interpret threat. The event happens outside you. The interpretation happens inside you. Marcus trained himself to pause between event and interpretation. He would remind himself, "This is just an event, and my judgment about it is optional." That pause creates freedom. If someone insults you, sound reaches your ears. That is the event. Feeling humiliated is interpretation. If someone betrays you, their action happens. That is the event. Feeling destroyed is interpretation. When you separate event from interpretation, emotional control becomes possible, and this becomes your shield when people play dirty. Manipulation only works when it controls interpretation. If someone lies about you but you remain steady and consistent, their lie weakens over time. If someone tries to provoke anger but you remain calm, they reveal their own instability. If someone plays psychological games but you refuse emotional engagement, the game collapses. Dirty tactics require emotional participation. Without your reaction, their strategy has no fuel. This leads to one of the strongest forms of power: deliberate silence, not weak silence, not fearful silence, but intentional silence. The silence of someone who refuses to lower themselves. Imagine someone shouting, accusing, provoking, and you respond only when necessary, calmly and clearly, or sometimes not at all. Emotionally unstable people feel defeated by this because they cannot control you. But something even more important happens inside you. You protect your character. Marcus believed your character is your most valuable possession. Every angry reaction, every petty revenge, every dishonest response damages you first, even if it feels justified. When others play dirty, they invite you to become like them. The real battle is not against them. The real battle is against becoming what you dislike. And that battle happens inside your mind, moment by moment. Think honestly. How many times has anger made things worse? How many times has ego destroyed peace? How many times has reacting quickly created regret later? Marcus understood that peace is not found by controlling the world, but by mastering the inner world. And every time someone behaves badly, life is asking you one question: will you protect your ego or your peace? Most people choose ego. They argue, defend, attack, and escalate. Even when they win, they lose calmness, dignity, and clarity. But the Stoic way chooses something different: clarity over chaos, discipline over impulse, character over pride, inner strength over outer noise. This does not mean being passive or weak. You can set boundaries calmly, you can speak truth firmly, you can walk away without drama, you can act without hatred. Calm does not mean weak. Calm means controlled power. And once you truly understand this, dealing with manipulative, disrespectful, or toxic people becomes a completely different experience. Now let's move from understanding the mindset to actually using it in real life, because staying calm in theory is easy, but staying calm when someone is attacking you, manipulating you, or trying to dominate you emotionally is a completely different challenge. The first practical skill is emotional delay, which simply means you refuse to react immediately, no matter what happens. Because dirty players depend on speed. They want instant reactions, instant anger, instant defense, instant emotional exposure. But the moment you slow down, their rhythm breaks. When someone says something provocative, pause, breathe, and give yourself space before responding. Even a few seconds of silence changes the power dynamic, because the person trying to control you suddenly loses emotional momentum. Most people react like a reflex. Stimulus happens and reaction follows instantly. But emotional delay inserts awareness between the two, and awareness gives you choice. When you delay reaction, your mind moves from impulse to observation, and observation allows you to ask a powerful question. What response serves my long-term strength, not my short-term emotion? This single shift transforms behavior, because short-term emotion wants to win the moment, but long-term strength wants to control the pattern. Dirty people think in moments. Wise people think in patterns, and whoever controls the pattern controls the outcome. The second practical skill is emotional neutrality in tone and body language, because even if your words are calm, your face, voice, and posture can reveal emotional disturbance, and experienced manipulators watch these signals carefully. If your voice shakes, they push harder. If your face tightens, they apply pressure. If your body becomes tense, they know they are winning. But when your tone remains steady, your posture relaxed, and your expression neutral, they lose feedback, and without feedback, they cannot adjust their strategy. Emotional neutrality is psychological invisibility. It removes information others use to control you. Practice speaking slower than usual when tension rises. Practice relaxing your shoulders deliberately. Practice keeping your facial expression simple and controlled. These small physical adjustments create internal calm and external authority at the same time. The third skill is refusing emotional bait. An emotional bait is anything designed to trigger reaction instead of discussion. Insults, sarcasm, exaggeration, personal attacks, sudden accusations. These are not attempts to communicate truth. They are attempts to control emotional state. When bait appears, do not engage with the emotional layer. Respond only to facts if response is necessary, or disengage completely. For example, if someone says, "You always mess things up because you are careless," the emotional bait is always and careless, both designed to provoke defense. Instead of defending emotionally, respond to the specific situation calmly, or ask for clear facts, or simply say, "Let's focus on the actual issue." This shifts conversation from emotional chaos to rational structure, and manipulators hate structure because structure removes emotional leverage. The fourth skill is boundary clarity, because calmness without boundaries becomes passivity, and passivity invites more pressure. Boundaries are not emotional explosions. They are calm statements of what you will accept and what you will not. A boundary does not require anger, shouting, or explanation. It requires clarity and consistency. If someone repeatedly disrespects you, say calmly, "I will not continue this conversation if the tone stays like this," and then follow through. If they continue, disengage, no drama, no argument, just action. Consistency trains others how to treat you, and inconsistency invites testing. Dirty players constantly test limits. They push slightly, observe reaction, and adjust. But when limits are stable and predictable, testing becomes pointless. The fifth skill is strategic detachment, which means separating your identity from the situation. Many conflicts feel intense because people merge self-worth with external events. Criticism feels like personal attack. Disagreement feels like rejection. Manipulation feels like proof of weakness. But strategic detachment says, "This is a situation, not my identity." Someone's behavior reflects their state of mind, not my value as a person. This mental separation protects emotional stability. When you detach, you can analyze instead of absorb, observe instead of react, decide instead of defend. Detachment is not coldness, it is clarity. The sixth skill is controlling narrative inside your mind, Because every external conflict is filtered through internal storytelling. Your mind constantly explains events, and those explanations create emotion. If someone ignores your message, one story says they disrespect you, another story says they are busy, another says they forgot, another says they are dealing with something difficult. The event is the same. The story changes emotional experience. When dealing with dirty behavior, choose interpretations that preserve stability without denying reality. This does not mean naive optimism, it means disciplined interpretation. Tell yourself, their behavior shows their character, my response shows mine. This keeps focus on what you control. The seventh skill is selective engagement, because not every battle deserves participation. Many people waste enormous energy trying to correct every lie, respond to every insult, and defend against every misunderstanding. This drains mental resources and traps you in endless reaction. Strategic thinkers choose carefully where to invest attention. Ask yourself, will engaging improve anything meaningful, or will it only feed drama? If engagement produces no constructive outcome, disengagement becomes strength, not weakness. Walking away from pointless conflict is not surrender, it is resource management. The eighth skill is calm assertion, because silence is powerful. But sometimes action is necessary, and when action is needed, it must be clear, direct, and emotionally controlled. Calm assertion means stating truth without emotional charge, expressing disagreement without hostility, enforcing limits without aggression. For example, instead of saying, "You are always manipulating me," say, "I do not agree with that approach, and I will not participate in it." This communicates strength without emotional escalation. Calm assertion preserves dignity while protecting boundaries. The ninth skill is emotional endurance, because some dirty tactics are not explosive, they are persistent. Slow pressure, repeated testing, subtle disrespect, ongoing manipulation, these wear people down over time. Endurance means maintaining consistency without fatigue. Many people start calm but eventually break, and manipulators often rely on this. They keep pushing until reaction appears. Emotional endurance requires remembering long-term intention, protecting character over comfort, stability over immediate relief. The 10th skill is inner validation, because people who depend heavily on external approval are easier to control. If your sense of worth depends on praise, acceptance, or recognition, others can influence your emotional state by giving or withholding those things. Inner validation means your value is defined by your principles, actions, and character, not by fluctuating opinions around you. When validation comes from inside, external manipulation loses leverage. This idea appears strongly in meditations, where personal integrity is treated as the ultimate measure of success, independent of external noise. Now let's combine these skills into real-world scenarios. Imagine someone tries to provoke you publicly. Emotional delay stops instant reaction. Neutral tone removes visible disturbance. Refusal of bait prevents escalation. Calm assertion keeps conversation structured, and inner validation protects confidence. The entire manipulation attempt collapses step by step. Imagine someone spreads rumors about you. Strategic detachment prevents personal collapse. Selective engagement avoids unnecessary conflict. Consistent behavior over time weakens false narrative. Emotional endurance maintains stability until truth becomes visible through pattern. Imagine someone pressures you repeatedly to act against your values. Boundary clarity defines limits. Calm assertion communicates refusal. Inner validation prevents guilt manipulation. And disengagement protects energy. Each situation becomes manageable when inner structure is stable. This is the deeper secret. Dirty tactics are effective only when internal structure is weak or undefined. When inner structure is strong, external chaos loses influence. But there is an even more advanced level of thinking, one that transforms not just reaction, but perception itself. Instead of seeing difficult people as obstacles, see them as training. Every attempt to provoke you becomes practice in patience. Every manipulation becomes practice in clarity. Every insult becomes practice in emotional control. Every conflict becomes a test of character. When you view challenges as training, resistance decreases, learning increases, and emotional pressure transforms into growth. This perspective removes victim mentality and replaces it with discipline mentality. You are not being attacked, you are being trained. This shift is powerful because it turns negative experiences into skill-building experiences. Another advanced principle is moral independence, which means you do not allow others' bad behavior to determine your standards. If someone lies, you remain truthful. If someone is rude, you remain respectful. If someone manipulates, you remain clear, not because they deserve it, but because your character is not negotiable. When your behavior depends on your principles instead of others' actions, you become internally stable. Many people change behavior based on environment. They become harsh around harsh people, dishonest around dishonest people, reactive around reactive people. But moral independence maintains consistency regardless of surroundings. Consistency builds identity, and strong identity resists manipulation. Another powerful practice is perspective expansion. Most emotional reactions feel overwhelming because attention becomes narrow. You focus only on the immediate discomfort, but when you expand perspective, intensity reduces. Ask yourself, will this matter in 1 year, in 5 years, in 10 years? Most conflicts shrink instantly when viewed across time. Expand further, think of the billions of people living different struggles, different challenges, different realities. Your current conflict becomes a small moment in a vast human experience. Perspective expansion reduces emotional intensity and restores rational thinking. Another key principle is energy protection. Emotional conflict consumes energy, and energy is a limited resource. Every unnecessary argument, every prolonged resentment, every mental replay of insult drains psychological strength. Protecting energy means choosing calm not just for dignity, but for sustainability. A tired mind reacts faster, a stable mind responds wisely. Protect sleep, protect mental space, protect attention, because emotional control requires energy. Without energy, even strong minds weaken. Finally, remember this fundamental rule. You cannot control whether people play dirty, but you can control whether their behavior changes who you are. That is the real battlefield, not reputation, not argument, not victory, but identity. Every interaction shapes character either through reaction or discipline. When you remain steady, clear, and self-controlled under pressure, you are not just handling a situation, you are building a personality that becomes increasingly difficult to manipulate. And the more this inner structure strengthens, the less external behavior disturbs you, until eventually something remarkable happens. Dirty tactics stop feeling threatening at all. They start feeling predictable, almost mechanical, like watching patterns repeat. And when behavior becomes predictable, it loses emotional impact completely. The final level of thinking is simple but powerful. You stop trying to win against people and start trying to master yourself. Because once self-mastery becomes your main goal, other people's dirty behavior loses importance automatically. Every insult becomes a test of patience. Every manipulation becomes a test of awareness. Every conflict becomes a test of discipline. And instead of asking, how do I defeat them? You begin asking, how do I remain unchanged by them? This shift turns emotional survival into personal evolution. The strongest person in any difficult situation is not the loudest, not the most aggressive, not the most dominant, but the one who remains internally stable no matter what happens outside. Stability creates clarity. Clarity creates smart action. And smart action always defeats blind reaction in the long run. Another important realization is that time exposes everything. Lies collapse, manipulation becomes visible, fake strength fades, but character becomes stronger with consistency. That means you do not need instant victory, you need steady integrity. When others rush, you stay patient. When others react, you stay observant. When others try to control outcomes, you control effort and behavior. Over time, this creates quiet authority. People sense it even if they cannot explain it, because calm consistency signals strength at a deeper level than emotional dominance ever can. You also learn to measure success differently, not by who won the argument, but by whether you stayed calm, not by whether others changed, but by whether you stayed disciplined, not by whether the situation was fair, but by whether your response was wise. This new definition of success makes you psychologically independent from external chaos. Eventually, something surprising happens. People who try to manipulate you either stop trying or move away, because control requires emotional access. And when access disappears, effort feels pointless. You become difficult to provoke, difficult to pressure, difficult to disturb, not because you are cold, but because you are centered. And being centered means your thoughts are guided by reason, your emotions are guided by awareness, and your actions are guided by principle. This is the final lesson. When others play dirty, they reveal their level of control over themselves, but your response reveals your level of control over yourself, and that is the only comparison that truly matters. When you protect your peace, guard your character, and respond with clarity instead of impulse, you do not just handle difficult people better, you become the kind of person difficult people cannot control at all. If this video taught you lessons about discipline, clarity, and emotional control, please like it. It supports us and motivates us to make more videos like this. Share it with your friends, colleagues, or family so they can also learn how to become emotionally untouchable and stay calm and strong in any situation. Most importantly, if you want to continue your growth journey and never miss future videos, subscribe and turn on the bell icon so every new lesson reaches you directly.